Welcome back, guys, to another Captain Trox podcast. Today, we are going to finish the Huttlet rescue. Master Skywalker, Ventress said, mocking the Jedi. The dark side flowed all around her. I see you found yourself a new pet. I'm no pet, Ahsoka said. I'm going to teach this Sith a lesson, she thought. R2-D2 had other ideas, though. He plugged into a computer and opened up the floor beneath Ventress and the droids. Unfortunately, Anakin and Ahsoka were standing in the same spot. They all dropped down into a gloomy chamber. As soon as they hit the bottom, though, Anakin and Ahsoka jumped into action. The droids were easy, but Ventress was impossible. The Jedi's lightsabers whirled in the dark, dank pit. With a swoop, Ventress almost got Ahsoka, but Anakin saved his Padawan at the last minute. I'll handle her, Anakin said. Get the Huttlet out of here. Ahsoka wasn't going to let Anakin down again. He and Ventress fought as the young Padawan headed to the door with Rhoda and R2-D2. Ahsoka smashed the controls on the wall. The door opened. Ahsoka rushed outside and onto the landing platform. She was worried about Anakin, Ventress, and especially Rhoda. The medics had to help him. Ahsoka, wait, Anakin said suddenly. A shadow fell over his Padawan. A vulture droid appeared out of nowhere. It bombed the platform. When Ahsoka looked up, she and Anakin were separated. The vulture droid had landed between them. Nothing was going right. Ventress, the vulture droid, Ahsoka blamed herself for it all. Maybe she wasn't ready to be a Jedi after all. It didn't matter if Ahsoka was ready or not, though. The vulture droid was too busy shooting at her, and Anakin R2-D2 got knocked off the platform and fell into the jungle as Rhoda wailed. I wish you were home too, Anakin said to Rhoda, who was now being carried by the Jedi. Suddenly, Ahsoka got a lucky slice in on the vulture droid. Her lightsaber cut through its wings like butter. The droid howled and swung its other leg. It knocked her to the edge of the platform. She screamed, dangling helplessly over the edge. The Jedi were in trouble. All right, Anakin couldn't get a hold of the clone troopers on his communication device. Ahsoka was about to get squashed by the vulture droid. Even R2-D2 was in danger. But Anakin wasn't going to leave his Padawan hanging there. With a yell, he attacked the vulture droid. Ahsoka's eyes went wide as she watched her master seem to... As she watched, her master seemed to be invincible. In a minute, the droid lay in pieces on the ground. Good distraction, Snips, Anakin said. Let me guess. You meant to do that. Snips, Ahsoka thought. Is that his new nickname for me? Ugh. Distraction. I cut his wing off, Ahsoka said. Give R2 a hand, Anakin said, ignoring her. I'll see if we can get a transport. Anakin started fiddling with his communicator. Ahsoka huffed but helped R2-D2 onto the platform. Gigantic dragonflies from the jungle had been poking him, but she scared them away. R2-D2 beeped, thanking her. You're welcome, R2, Ahsoka said. At least someone here appreciates my help. Anakin was too busy to respond. He couldn't get through to anybody. That was bad enough. But then twin red lightsabers began cutting through the door to the temple. Ventress was coming back. The Jedi were trapped. Anakin and Ahsoka yelled orders at each other, but Rhoda squealed. The Padawan looked to where the Huttlet was pointing off in the distance. A starship saw on another landing platform, but a mile of jungle lay between it and the Jedi. How are we going to make it? Ahsoka said. Like this, Anakin said, and he jumped off the platform with Rhoda on his back. Ahsoka's mouth dropped, but before she could do anything, the doors flung open. Ventress stormed out, eyes flaming. Where is Skywalker? She snarled. Ahsoka couldn't answer. Her lips were trembling. Here, Anakin yelled as he flew in on one of the dragonflies. Ventress was too surprised to do anything, so Ahsoka jumped off the platform before the assassin could get to them. In a flash, Anakin had grabbed Ahsoka and the dragonfly, soared off with R2-D2 jetting along beside them. Rhoda burped in Ahsoka's face just as she settled in for the flight. I missed you too, Ahsoka said, and the strange thing was, she kinda did. Rhoda depended on her. So did the entire Republic. The dragonfly flew toward the starship, and Ahsoka tried to keep her grip. It was a long way on the back of that dragonfly, but everybody made it in one piece. They weren't out of the jungle yet. The ship on the platform looked like it could barely fly. R2-D2 bleeped, worried. We'd be better off on that big bug, Ahsoka said. But they didn't have much of a choice. Anakin ordered Ahsoka to start up the engines. He went to make sure everything was safe. What he didn't know was that the freighter wasn't empty. As Ahsoka opened the doors, several droids popped out and started firing. As Ahsoka opened the door, several droids popped out and started firing. Ahsoka had learned a lot, however, just by watching her master. With a few chops of her lightsaber, their circuits were sparking all over the ground. She rushed into the ship with Anakin and R2-D2 right behind her. Now let's get this thing started up, Anakin said. He sat down in the pilot's seat and turned on the engine. Or he tried to. Ahsoka sighed. Great. What more could go wrong? Relax, Snips, Anakin said. He and R2-D2 went to work. Ahsoka tried to keep Rhoda from getting any sicker. He wasn't looking good at all. Soon, though, the ship roared to life and blasted off. As the ship tore into the sky, Ahsoka turned to Anakin. Master, today I did my best to stay calm and focused, she said. Anakin didn't say anything, but smiled a bit. When I did, everything seemed so easy. Anakin was about to say something when, crack! A blast hit the ship. Well, things just got a lot harder, Anakin said. Tons of separatist ships were closing in on the Jedi. Ahsoka huffed. She had been so close to getting her master to open up. Anakin had to focus on flying, and wow, was he good. He did loops, spins, and anything he could think of to get them out of range of the separatists. If I could ever be half as good as him, Ahsoka thought, that would be enough for me. But the ship was still too heavy to escape. The Jedi had to make it to Jabba's home on Tatooine. Luckily, Anakin's Padawan had an idea and ran off down the hallway of the ship. Ahsoka, wait, Anakin shouted, but she was already gone. Ahsoka rushed back into the cargo bay. Just like she thought, junk and boxes crowded the entire room. Ahsoka opened up the bay doors as Anakin rolled the ship. Everything in there flew out. Ahsoka watched as it all smashed into the ships behind them. Problem solved. Ahsoka rushed back to the cockpit and told Anakin about what she did. You could have just opened the doors from here, Anakin said, pointing to the control panel. Ahsoka shrugged, then changed the subject. You grew up on Tatooine, right? Ahsoka said, trying to get him to talk. So for you, this is like going home. Yeah, home, Anakin repeated. His eyes glazed over. He was lost in thought. What about Tatooine? Ahsoka wasn't going to get anything out of him. She sighed and searched for some medical supplies to help Rhoda. Ahsoka began to worry that she was never going to please her master. The ship jumped into hyperspace. The Jedi were safe. For a little bit. Who knew what was waiting for them on Tatooine? How stinky, Anakin asked as they came out of hyperspace. Ahsoka had found some medical supplies and Rhoda happily slept on the floor. He seems to be doing much better, Ahsoka said. Even you have to admit that he's cute when he's asleep. She looked out the window and saw Tatooine down below. I bet it feels great to be back, Ahsoka told him. Anakin just grunted. I was hoping never to lay eyes on this dust ball again, Anakin said. Wow, underneath his skin he wasn't so tough after all. Okay, what happened? Ahsoka asked. I don't want to talk about it, Anakin said, reliving his past memories of his mother's death at the hands of the Tusken Raiders. His Padawan almost said something, but didn't. Anakin smiled at her. They'd been through a lot. He was harsh sometimes, but Ahsoka knew he was just looking out for her. There wasn't time for any apologies, though. Separatist ships appeared out of nowhere and attacked. Rhoda woke up and started crying. Somebody doesn't want Stinky to get home in one piece, Anakin said. He turned on the shields and they were in battle once again. Anakin and Ahsoka's talk had to wait. They were so close to Tatooine, but the Separatists had found them, even here. They must have known all along that the Jedi would come. But how? Anakin wasn't thinking about that, though. He fought his way down to the planet below. R2-D2 took over the guns and blasted Separatists left and right. They made quite a team except for Ahsoka. All she could do was watch. She felt scared and excited at the same time. It was almost fun. But then a droid got in a lucky shot. Bam! The engines began to smoke as the freighter hurtled toward Tatooine's surface. Anakin tried the controls, but nothing worked. This is going to be a bumpy landing, Anakin yelled. Ahsoka held onto Rhoda as the desert raced up to meet them. In a few seconds they would hit. And that wasn't going to be fun at all. Ahsoka didn't remember when she woke up. One minute it was pitch black in the spaceship. The next, Anakin pulled her out of the wreckage. The sun nearly blinded them both. Rhoda seemed happy, though. Welcome home, Stinky, Ahsoka said. Tatooine's endless desert stretched out ahead of them. They couldn't see anything but sand, and it was hot. Very hot. Ahsoka turned to her master. He didn't look too happy either. Jabba's palace is on the other side of the Dune Sea, Anakin said. It was a long way off, but Anakin grew up there, and he knew where he was going. They set off to finish their mission. Still, Anakin wasn't talking much. Ahsoka remembered a saying of Yoda's. Old sins cast long shadows. She asked Anakin what it meant. He means your past can ruin your future if you allow it, he replied. But Master Skywalker was the one who said, I don't want to talk about my past. Okay, fine, Ahsoka said. Anakin went quiet. Again, Ahsoka pouted silently, but then she stopped dead in her sandy tracks. Something wasn't right. Ahsoka could feel it under her skin. R2-D2 beeped worried. We're not alone, Ahsoka said. I sense it too, Anakin said. It's the dark side of the Force. That could only mean one thing. Count Dooku was on Tatooine, and he would do anything to prevent the Jedi from saving Rhoda. Ahsoka didn't think she was ready to handle a Sith Lord like Dooku, but she wanted to stay and fight with her master. Anakin had other ideas. "I need you to trust me on this one," Anakin said. He took Rhoda out of his backpack and then began filling it with rocks. Ahsoka raised an eyebrow. She wasn't sure what her master was doing, but helped anyway. Then she got it. Master Anakin was going to trick Dooku. He'd send her ahead with Rhoda. When the Count finally found him, Dooku would think that Anakin had the Hutt. It was dangerous, but Anakin wouldn't listen. He sent Ahsoka and R2-D2 away as Dooku appeared on the horizon. Ahsoka looked back as she snuck away. Dooku and Anakin lit up their lightsabers and fought. It was amazing to see, but Ahsoka had to hurry before Dooku realized what was up. So she ran through the desert to Jabba's palace. Ahsoka worried about Anakin, but not too much. If anybody could handle Dooku, it was her master. He taught her so much already, and now Anakin trusted her with Rhoda. Ahsoka hurried through the desert. She didn't want to disappoint him. Finally, Ahsoka reached the palace. As she walked up the path, it seemed like everything had turned out all right. But Ahsoka was thinking about Anakin and listening to the Force. And when Ahsoka reached the gates, 3 Magna Guards jumped out of the sand. The powerful droids glowed, growled, and reached out. Ahsoka wiped out her lightsaber. It was just her and R2-D2 against the droids. There was no backing down now. The Magna Guards attacked, knocking R2-D2 out of the way. Ahsoka didn't have time to think. She just let her lightsaber fly in her hands. The Magna Guards stabbed and slashed, but Ahsoka somehow danced away. Suddenly, Anakin appeared on top of a land speeder in the distance. He must have beaten Count Dooku, but instead of stopping, he just rocketed past Ahsoka. She knew that she was hard to see, so she jumped up to get his attention. She really needed help with the Magna Guards. "Master! Master!" Ahsoka yelled. But he didn't hear her. He just raced towards Jabba's palace. He never listened, Ahsoka fumed. She had to end her fight quickly. There was no telling what kind of trouble her master would get into without her. The 3 Magna Guards pounced. 1, 2, 3, Ahsoka slashed them with her lightsaber. They fell to the ground in pieces. "Let's get you home, Rhoda," Ahsoka said. Rhoda gurgled as the Padawan lifted him onto her back. Ahsoka looked around and found R2-D2 beeping in the sand. "You too, Master Anakin needs us." The 3 raced into the palace. Ahsoka almost got them all lost in the dark tunnels. Finally, she found her way to Jabba's throne room, but Jabba was about to have Anakin killed. His cronies were all pointing their weapons at Ahsoka's master. "Stop!" she yelled, and everyone turned to look at her. Ahsoka gulped. "Most patient Jabba," Ahsoka said. She tried to keep her voice from trembling. "Your son has arrived alive and well." "He is alive, isn't he?" Anakin whispered. "And still stinky," Ahsoka said. "That was for sure." Jabba roared. His guards came down and snatched Rhoda out of Ahsoka's hands. Rhoda squealed when he saw his dad. Jabba hugged the son. It was almost cute. Almost. But Jabba wasn't done with the Jedi. He yelled again. His guards pointed their guns back at them. "Another fight," Ahsoka said. "This is getting old." But just before they could shoot through, though, a hologram activated. It was Padme Amidala, the Galactic Senator. She had a message for the Hutts. "Greetings, Honorable Jabba," Padme said. "I am Senator Amidala of the Galactic Republic." She explained that Jabba's uncle had been the one who had stolen Rhoda. Count Dooku had even helped. Ahsoka's mind reeled. They'd been set up all along. The Separatists had lied to Jabba. They said the Jedi were the ones who'd kidnapped his son. Dooku had tried to kill Rhoda so he could blame the Republic. Anakin thanked the Senator. Then he turned to his Padawan. Ahsoka didn't know what he was going to say, but he didn't say anything. He just bowed. Ahsoka bowed back. She hid her smile. I guess I did well after all, she thought. And with that, Ahsoka's first mission was a success. Everything turned out okay. Dooku was defeated, Jabba got his son back, and Ahsoka even impressed her teacher, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Master Yoda. Flew down to congratulate Anakin and Ahsoka on a job well done. The war wasn't over, though. Anakin and Ahsoka had many more missions ahead of them. But with Anakin leading the way, Ahsoka felt confident. What could go wrong? And that is the end of our podcast for today. Subscribe, like the video, and tune in for some more Star Wars videos. This is Captain Trox signing off.